Greetings. My name is Michael Miller. This is a Michael Miller trademark training video out to you because you're watching. Thank you and welcome. It's meant for Michael Miller Pilates licensed affiliates, the core to core, and anyone interested in surviving and thriving as a Pilates instructor. I have new friends in Facebook, and that seems to be an ongoing thing. And so I'm always trying to say welcome to my new viewers, and can only hope that the presence of previous recordings can in some way broaden your perspective if where I'm coming from seems so self-indulgent, perhaps. Anyway, there's 5 things in my titles today, 5 of them, and the first one is if you are a brand new viewer, and if you're a really experienced viewer and are waiting for me to say something new and interesting, my question to my seasoned viewer is, what would be the first thing you think you would say if you wanted to understand what's going on or see what's going on with CT and MMP? And see, right there you've done a lot, or I've done a lot, because I said CT and MMP, and there's no idea what those 2 things mean, but that there are 2 things. And so that's the first thing I have to say to someone, saying welcome to this point of view of Pilates, one out of 10,000 among 10,000 others. Okay? My number 1 comment today has to do with what my trademark points to within the body of making oppositional rotation between axes, in this case the axis around the ears and the axis at the shoulders, and by creating oppositional rotation between them, you get this, right? You get eccentric, you get elongation between the 2 axes. You also happen to get sensation of alignment. And all of that is in aspiration of the biology's desire to move in the physics that it finds itself in. I'm sorry if that's way too abstract or too simple or however expressed, but it's my way of saying things. Gravity. Gravity. And so, MMP, in terms of Michael Miller Pilates, is a point of view based on a theory that there's an ideal within Joe's original work. That's just one point of view out of millions now, right? And this point of view presumes an ideal within Joe's original work and tries to explain it based off of 3 things from Joe's book. And that's all it is. It's just one view limited to 3 things in Joe's book that looks towards an ideal, or looks for an ideal within Joe's original work. So the MMP to a new viewer is just one point of view about Pilates, and it's a presumption that there is an ideal within the method that you can actually understand and feel, that there's a feeling associated with it, So MMP pursues the ideal in search of a sensation, in search of a state of being in the body in the moment of the doing, which is the complete coordination of body, mind, and spirit, as viewed in this point of view within MMP. And MMP takes Joe's definition, and it may be scandalous or obscene, but at least I hope it's clear to you that in MMP, the complete coordination of body, mind, and spirit is being, thinking, and observing. That's all. It's as simple as that. But it's as perceptible as that. And that's why it's so fun to be a Pilates instructor. Because mostly you're having fun helping a person take a shot at the experience. So the second thing of CT and MMP, if you're just watching, CT stands for core new tension, and core new tension by definition is oppositional rotation between axes. So the axis up through my arms rotates one way, and the axis around my ears rotates the opposite way, and it produces tension. And it's tension that makes alignment perceptible and reaches toward uniform engagement in the effort. If road embankments and roller coasters are designed on the math that core new tension, or the Euler curve, comes into play, it's about the smooth, continuous connection between one point and another. Is my layman's understanding of the Euler curve. And I learned it as the core new spiral, and that's just a curve going in opposite directions in a mathematically proportional way. And so when it comes to yours truly and what I profess and what I want you to know about, in case you never listen to me again, is that core new tension is a biomechanical thing. You know, it's got nothing to do with Pilates directly, or perhaps it has everything to do with the body biomechanically of the biology and the physics that it's in. And when you get to Pilates, you get to, in my case, the three things out of Joe's book: his mat work, right? His defining sequence, and, oh, by the way, his definition of what it is and how it's done. Getting way too close. Number 2. Where is the Pilates? So my new friends show me or take me to the new expressions of movement, and because it's new expressions of movement through a utilization of Pilates equipment, it leaves me asking myself the question, where is the Pilates? And I'm not saying it's not there. I'm just looking at a use of, obviously, a Pilates reformer, and wondering more about the movement and how it fits into my presumption that there's an ideal within the original work that has something to do about not only the movement you do, but the sequence that you do the movement in. Definitely a curious thing, right? And show me more. And so my note talks about how do you absorb, or how do you filter is the better word. I think filter is going to be the title word in my Facebook broadcast. And because it's about filters, it's how we filter reality to build a simulation of what we think we see out there. And for me, the very performance of the mat is a filter, because it organizes the effort in the body to yield a particular result. That's a filter all its own. And that's the world practicing it right now in the tsunami. Another filter is an additional point of view on that. And with MMP and CT, the MMP point of view is identifying the ideal within Joe's original work. And its recognition is up to you. And because michaelmillerpilates as a saying mark makes sense, is the saying mark, it's up to you. And if it makes sense to you literally, if you can feel the difference and it's better, then embrace it. And if you don't feel a difference, or you don't like the difference, or you choose to continue to do it away out of tradition. So filter is my theme there, because just doing a routine, it assumes a routine. See, Pilates, in this particular point of view, MMP, assumes a routine and a striving to perform more of the routine and perform better what you do of the routine. Presumption, there's a good word. So my notes, number 3, takes me to, okay, so here I'm pointing to a difference between things. And within MMP, there is a target of performing the mat work, Joe's original sequence, and maybe some embellishment if it makes sense or works or you prefer. But the acknowledgement that the underlying core of the routine is I want to say Joe's pattern. The exact exercises, maybe not, depends on the body. But the ideal within Joe's original exercises, definitely. And so my number 3 title is, what can take me deeper into the practice of that? So you're saying, what is it? What else can I learn? What else can I do in order to get better at doing that? Okay? So there's a distinction, there's a difference, perhaps, between all the stuff that you can do and having a purpose of what you do being targeted toward the capacity to perform the mat, or to do your own mat and achieve the results that you want by mirroring the ideal pattern within it. flexion, extension, side bending, rotation, and torsion. It's how you make up space. It's how the organic organism comes to control its movement in space. And by the point of the progressive pattern is to do your best to most fully embrace and control your movement within the space that you have to move within. And so 3D space, 3 dimensions, right, is the space we have to move within, and the more ideally we can move within that space, in plane and in perpendicular plane, so if I have any focus at all, my intent is to point to the difference between the pursuit of doing the clarity of knowing that as a Pilates instructor, I'm in the pursuit of instructing my student to be able to perform the mat on their own. That's just one point of view, and that's my target as an instructor within that point of view. Okay. And so there's a difference between the performance of what you're trying to do, the dance that you're trying to perform, the kata that you're trying to demonstrate, the routine. It gives so much benefit in the pursuit of what it is, that so much can be taken from it and made of it, and made out of it. So, I don't know, can you read that? What is this? That's an empty bag of sugar. But from within the MMP point of view, sugar is sugar, and there is the experience itself that is what it is, and everyone uses sugar to bake and cook however they wish. In this tsunami of Pilates passion, I think there is buoyancy and survivability in at least knowing within your understanding that there's an ideal way to look at this, and it can empower your way to instruct. And what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is knowing that as a teacher, how do I hold this thought. As a teacher, I feel much calmer knowing where I want my student to go to. I want to know what I'm teaching them. I want them to know when they've learned what I have to teach them, because they will. And then I'll never see them again. It's like, how do you solve this puzzle? How do you solve this puzzle? How do you solve this puzzle? Well, I could never do that. Still can't. But coming to understand Pilates from the point of view of an ideal gives you the calm of knowing as a Pilates instructor you want a person to be able to perform the mat work on their own and do it as often as they can, as much as they can, in the experience that you're after. What you do and add to your capability to pursue that puts the conditioning of the routine in its proper perspective as fundamental, as profound. In a way that's more than enough to keep me making this point of view available to you while I can. Oh, I didn't go get my book. Somewhere I have a book of mine. Where is it? No. See, it's bizarre. Maybe that's only normal. Before, yeah. All right. Wasn't as far as I. Ouch. Wasn't as far as I thought. Precarious, but not as far. So. I made this presentation yesterday as well. I talked about words, for one thing, and that there's a dictionary for words, and it's a dictionary for words, and without adding other dictionaries and making a bigger point of it, just here's a dictionary, and then I held up a small book to represent a grammar book, and then I realized that this book by yours truly, right? And I didn't do that either. I was going to look up the authors of The Elements of Style by Strunk and somebody. I'm sorry not to give him the credit. But this book was inspired by that effort to take an ideal shot at what it means. And as such, the first grammar book. And I know it's not great, and I know it's self-published, and I know all of those things. But I would make the distinction with you that with MMP, it's not, and see, what am I talking about with words? Words. Pilates is more than exercises. See, as I said before, and if you're new, okay, what an organized wreck. The book's available on Amazon. The Elements of the Michael Miller Pilates View. I don't even know what the title is now. The Elements of Pilates, and after the Elements of Style, and the Michael Miller View, my view. And this point of view is an ideal view of Pilates based on Joe's book. And it's the first book on grammar because it's the first statement or attempt at defining system of the work, structure of the work, target of the work, how it's organized the way it is, and why. Okay. Then, my last item on my list, because I talked about the first book on grammar. Number 5 is talking about the mat. Talking about the mat. And you know, in thinking about bringing this up as a title, I had the see, I get lost in thinking about the mat because there's so much to get lost in. So the first thing on my list, hermit.com, of an advanced list is the footwork, which comes off of the Reformer, which is indeed a preparation for the hundreds. But without knowing what you're doing and moving your legs in and out is an extremely advanced degree of control, right? You know this. But the hundreds itself is, I think, considered the beginning of the mat. And I think I'm wondering if I want to do this or not. The hundreds prepare the body for what? Why do you do the hundreds? There you go. In Michael Miller Pilates, you can always ask why. And in most traditions, it's the tradition that matters, and there is little to no why, because you're absorbing a tradition by focus rather than what? When you ask why, what does that mean? You only understand, right? I don't know. Hundreds to me, and explaining why gets the circulation going and it's preparation for the roll up, and the roll up is the lighter end of the body coming off of the ground toward the heavier, more anchored end. And if you can do that, then you do it heavier by bringing the heavy end toward the light end and the roll over. I'll never be able to cover all this in a broadcast. Don't you agree? So I think the point I want to make is that it is in pursuit of performing the mat with concentration, totally concentrated on the purpose of each exercise as you perform them and flow between them, is what gives you the experience in the moment of the doing. It is at the heart of the wick of what draws so many people, I think, to the method, because it aims for control, and the involvement of springs makes the search for control more subtle and supported. Subtle and supported. All right, life can't live forever. Read between the lines, see behind the curtain, add to and to, direct your thinking. Geist.